Hey, good morning, everybody. Today is November the 5th, 2023, and you are live with the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me this morning. And if you're watching this on replay, welcome as well. I always ask when we first start off, just let me know who you are and where you are in the world, or you could just let me know who you are and what you sell. That's great because we are literally broadcasting on 5 different social platforms at once. And if you miss this, you can watch the replay on YouTube or Facebook and even on LinkedIn. So there you go. So do me a favor, type in where you are and where you're joining from, and let's have some fun this morning. So a lot of you have been watching my makeover. I've been teasing out every little thing that I'm working on. I'm working on a makeover of 3 beverage stores up in upstate New York, and I'm very excited because the first of the robots has arrived from Tokinamo. Very exciting for me. And I'm not going to tell you much more about it, but this is technology that has come from Europe, and we are the first ones to use it in North America. And I will be implementing them this week. They have motion sensors, they have lights, and they have proven to boost um, conversion rates by a significant amount. So it's very exciting to be able to use that and be the first in the United States to do it. So watch along. Some of you have already gone and found the videos and you're like, that's pretty cool. It is very cool. I saw them originally, I think 5 years ago at NRF, and I said, "Oh, I want to have a client to be able to use this." And lo and behold, there was a client, and I was like, "You will be perfect for it." So there you go. One of the things to know about when you do a business makeover is it should release a lot of energy in the store. And I'm not talking about simply changing displays. I'm saying you actually physically take the fixtures and you move them from one place to the other. You come up with a different solution. You move the departments or whatever it is. But that's the first thing why we do makeovers, because they end up adding energy into the space and you see things from a different way. Things get lost in cleaning lists, things get forgotten, and suddenly you look around and you think, wow. And one of the things that we've done is their stores were done, they had kind of an off blue, a bluish white, and then there was this royal blue. And the problem with that is it's very cold colors. So when you walk in, it's got kind of a downer feel to it, and with some low ceilings in a few of them, we just simply painted the walls white and then put a Georgian brick stripe around it, and then painted behind the counters to warm the space, because that really makes a big difference. So as you follow through, I hope you'll take some actions in your own store and see some of the possibilities. I'm not really doing this for Facebook. I'm doing this for my client, but I want to show you along as well. Number 2, before I get too far along, is to just let you know that the seasonal training is now available. We do this for roughly about 6 weeks. You can buy access to about 6 lessons, about 30 minutes of content, for only $99 for up to 5 users. And that is based on my Sales RX training. It's very quick and down and dirty for the most part-timer. Just give them some basics. And then one of the things we're doing this year that's unusual is that whatever you paid for it for these 6 weeks, we will credit you that towards a full subscription in January. And you'll be in our January sprint, which is where we have 4 extra weeks of live coaching calls with me. So you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And if some of you are thinking, "Oh, isn't that Sales RX?" No, Sales RX is 40 lessons. Sales RX is a very robust. I'm trying to post this. There you go. There is the link for the seasonal training. Sales RX is a robust training program. It's designed to take anywhere from 5 to 7 months to do. And if you want to know more about that, I'll be talking about that more in December. So let's get to your questions, because that's always interesting. I asked this week about what you had, and sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get you to do things. And this time we have several others. So again, if you're just joining in, do me a favor and type in where you are joining in or what you sell. That would be helpful. And just quickly, good morning, Bob and John and Nwazu and Alex and several others as well. So don't just stalk me. Type in where you're joining me from, because the algorithm needs to know that there's something valuable here. So there you go. April asks, how do you suggest handling discounts such as employees, family, friends? Seems like everybody wants to support you but wants a discount. In another business, I set up employee discounts for birthdays, student discounts, seniors, military discounts, fundraising discount cards in schools. What works best? I am not a fan of all of those, April. I think it's mind numbing to think that you're going to do. You have something here unless you put it into your POS system. And more importantly, I don't do them unless they're going to bring in a lot of volume. So yeah, you could have. I've seen those programs. Oh, our high school card will do this and this. Well, is that really who is going to be most likely to drive your sales? Probably not. And so my first book was "You Can Beat Double Sales Without Discounting." So only ones I want to give a discount to is people who I know are my customers. Meaning, if you're on my list, if I have your email address and your phone number because you wanted to be or you bought something from me, I'm much more likely to want to do that than try to think of this old thing of, oh, but you understand, we have to give a discount. No, you don't. And that's the thing that eats most people's margins is they've come up with so many discounts thinking they're going to help. And then employees are sitting there thinking like, oh, who is this? What is that? Is it 5? Is it 10? Is it 20? And then they end up doing what? Oh, giving those to anybody because they know that you give those discounts. So I think it's a little hard to keep doing that. Stephen, I'm glad you're here from Texas. Cheryl from Colchester, Connecticut. Vincent from Tulsa, and Jessica from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Thanks for joining us. Selwyn asks, what's your advice to avoid retail burnout from a shop owner's point of view, please? Well, it's very real for all of us. I live in New York. I can't imagine the amount of anxiety I feel on a daily basis, and that's not just because we have a name change for a client and a new POS system and deadlines, right? It's just being a human being in 2023. It just isn't going to leave you. So, I've written a post on this. I was trying to find it just a minute before we got on, but you schedule a day off. And don't tell me you can't do it. If you have a business you can't take a day off from, you got serious problems. It's not burnout. You go to a spa or you go to a favorite retailer and you get energized by seeing what other people are doing. I think too many retailers spend too much time on social media bitching about whatever they can't control and then making those stupid customers and then following people that do videos on TikTok or YouTube about how awful it is to work retail. And then they wonder why they feel like crap. Crap coming in, crap going in, crap coming out your mouth. You feel. So the other thing, if you just really want to avoid retail burnout, just look at yourself while you're watching me. Are your shoulders rounded like this? Do you say, oh, why me? Oh, I hate doing that. Listen to the messages you're giving yourself, because an awful lot of retailers, a lot of people go through and actually talk themselves to feeling bad. There's two options that can happen in any interaction. It can go your way or not. But when you focus on, oh, it's just so overwhelming, it's terrible, well, then you have no one to blame but yourself. And stop talking to the saboteurs. The saboteurs were in France. They were people that took their sabers and put them into the gears as we moved in the industrialized age to stop the wheels from happening. Well, stop listening to those people. There's some cool stuff happening in retail. That I mentioned I have a robot to play with. I have several robots to play with. There's an awful lot of people doing interesting things. Find those people, and then you're going to find that you get hope back in retail, because that's really what it's about. If you're not hopeful, nobody else is going to be hopeful. If you like what I have to say, give me a thumbs up. Let me know in your comments, because otherwise you're just sitting there like a bump on a log and nothing's going to stick. So I want something to stick. Do something to make that work. I couldn't quite tell your language what it is. So, question, good day, Bob. What about discussing healthy margin for retailers? Well, it always comes down to number one, are you making enough to live the life you want? If not, it probably comes down to margin. And again, going back to that earlier comment about discounts, a lot of people do discounting as a way to make them feel like they're doing better. I don't think that's usually the best. And the other thing is to know that low margin only works if you have very high volume. So, a Walmart can have a very low price on something because they're selling bazillions of them, but you probably can't do that. So if you try to match price with them, you end up with a margin of, let's say, 11% on something. It almost makes sense not to carry that, because margin means nothing unless people buy it. So if you've whittled your prices to a little bit over cost to say, oh, what people will find me, I don't know. I think most people, if they're going to buy something, are going to buy it. And if they're, yes, they could be using their phone and comparing you to somebody else. But the fact that they walk in the door to you, they've chosen to give you their money. So earn it with great customer service. Earn it with making them feel like they matter. Earn it by treating them better than you're being treated by 90% of the world, and you'll succeed. But if you think that discounts are the way to go. I'm telling you, it just isn't. Cindy says, thank you for that. Oh, let's just show this. Cindy says, thank you for that comment. It's been doom and gloom in the mall in the last couple of months. It's hard to stay positive when I see these tips to regroup. I will use these tips to great. Stop talking to those people. I worked in malls most of my life. And I remember this one time I went to actually the two times I was actually in the hotel business after 9/11, and I went to this conference with a client, and the CEO gets up, and the picture was a world with ice all over it, and there's like, yeah, after 9/11, people aren't traveling, and so it's going to be really rough, and I wish I had something positive to say, but I don't. And he left the stage, and I go, that guy should be fired. I could not imagine that. If you have people who are telling you, oh, malls are dead, they win. Great. Then what the hell are you going to do? Oh, I've got a 7-year contract. Then shut the hell up and find something else to do. Have an amazing event. Find a way to find other retailers that want to succeed and do something. I got the highest increase at the hardest mall in the world, South Coast Plaza. I didn't give a damn what anybody else was doing. People were going to come back to my store because they felt they matter. If you want to do that, then it's hard work, because I don't give a crap that somebody loves you and they post on Instagram, oh, they're my favorite store. Are they buying stuff? Or are they just like looking at you? What I care about is how hard can we work so that every interaction is brilliant. Brilliant on the basics of engaging a stranger, discovering the shopper, engaging them so well that you earn the right to sell your merchandise. If that's what you want to do, you should certainly consider my seasonal training, which is like a baby step towards getting where you want to go, or commit to the full training of Sales RX. But most people are like, well, it's coming into Sales RX right during the holidays is a little tougher. It is. So what other excuses are you going to tell yourself? Oh, well, when I get around to it, I'll do it. By getting around to it, you end up with regrets that are much bigger. I'm doing seismic changes in a retailer in the middle of the fall, and yeah, it's a little dicey. There's never a great time. We striped a parking lot last week. We had to seal it, and out of nowhere, it started raining, and so they had to like literally stop the store for the next day because it had to dry. That's terrible. But the end in mind is we're going to look amazing when this is over. You have to think that way. Otherwise, you're never going to make somebody else's day during the holidays. I think I've talked about this probably too much. So I hope that helps. If it does, great me. Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Bob. I appreciate that very much. Stephen is asking a quick question. Any comments on the 2 Amazon stores closing in fashion? Yeah, Stephen. I mean, what they tried to do is bring all this technology without a personality. My little robots, I just love talking about these guys, are definitely going to have a personality. I'll show you a video of one of them when they're up this week. But if you don't have a clear vision of what your store is about, you're just a place to buy stuff, which frankly was Amazon's big thing. Like, oh, you see it, you scan it, I think they might have virtual mirrors, I'm not sure, but you could go to the fitting room and then, it would magically appear in the fitting room, and then you'd punch if you wanted other sizes and all that. It's so clinical. Who wants to do that? You want to feel like you're shopping with a buddy, or in apparel like a women's store, or you want to feel like you're shopping in a friend's closet. That's the feel that you want to have. And if it's just going to be this clinical, do this like rats to the cheese, I don't see a future for that in retail. But then I'm in the minority because I believe it's about people. I believe we make community by connecting people. And through that, we sell our merchandise. That's really Bob in a box. If you don't ascribe to that, you're probably not following me. And you're probably going after discounts and trying to follow some new silly trend or some technology. Great. But at the heart, if you don't make somebody feel they matter, and that first starts with your employees. And let's be honest, there are some that I don't care how much you try. It's just like filling an empty bucket, and it's just not going to be. If it's that much work for them to come to work, well, they're never going to make somebody else's day. So move on. But I can't, Bob. It's hard to get people. Shut the hell up and go out and recruit some people. But stop settling for these excuses about why you're not successful. The person who says they can, the person who says they can't are both right. Which do you want to be? That's simple. Joanne, you got me on a little bit of a rant there, so thanks for that, Cindy. I haven't done that in a while. Joanne, our sales associates have gone through Sales RX, and I find it frustrating to convey that a task is not more important than personal conversations. Now, those of you, before I read the rest of this, I was able to snag a the URL of a post that addresses this thing pretty well that I wrote last week. So feel free to look at that afterwards. But she says, recently I find it frustrating to convey that a task is not more important in personal conversation than a customer. One employee walked away from the front counter to ask another employee about a task and left a customer shuffling through bracelets. Yes, she acknowledged her, but then left and walked out of view. Her response to me was she did walk by the customer at 45-degree angle. I said, but you walked away from the front to go back and talk to another employee. How do I reinforce what they already learned without feeling like I'm reprimanding them? Well, I think the reality is you are reprimanding them. A retailer, your job as a manager and owner is to correct it. So I would just say, instead of approaching it that way, I would just be asking questions. Hey, Joanne, so tell me, you were up there with a customer and then you left her to go talk about a task. Can you just take me back how you got there? Oh, well, she was just looking and I thought I'd go ask the other girl or guy about how to clean a floor. It's like, okay, but our most important thing is what? Customers. Great. And why are they most important? Because they pay our salary. Exactly. So do you think a task could wait? Yes. So I would lead through questions rather than accusing, because sometimes we end up going, Jane, go greet that customer. I did. They're just looking. Where do you go from there? So you say, hey, did you see that woman over there? Have you talked with her? Yeah, I greeted her. Great. So what is she looking for? I don't know. She said she's just looking. Great. So what's your next step? I would just keep asking questions. And if you have taken Sales RX, Alex, and several of you on this call, you know what the next step is. They got to find a window of contact. And then if they don't, you say, so why didn't you? Oh, I didn't have to. Of course you had to. Don't give me that. There you go. Oh, wait, we have a little Jessica. Love the quote about who do you want to be? The one who says they can or can't. That's pretty much that simple. And it's a choice, isn't it? I've said this before. It's a choice. You either use that choice muscle and say, I choose to be this way, or I choose to not. But remember, it's always your choice. Top fan. I've got more to, so stay tuned, folks. If you like what I have to say, give me some love, give me some applause, whatever platform you're looking at, because the algorithm is looking at it and saying, wow, 17 minutes in, and people keep joining. So that's good. Top fan Victoria says, many countries are implementing a plastic bag ban. Are you charging customers for a bag? So Victoria, a lot of retailers don't understand. Why do we charge for the bag? It's to change behavior. It's not the 5 cents. It's to have a little annoyance that you're going to pay 5 cents for a bag, because I live in upstate New York. And when I first moved here 15 years ago, a funny thing would happen as the leaves came down is you would see all the plastic bags that had blown up into the trees, and that affects wildlife, it affects our waterways and everything else. So all the legislatures have pretty much said, charge money for it so people understand when you take a bag, there's a cost to it. So I would never, I'm annoyed by it too. Trust me, the first time I went to a CVS in California, and I think I was buying eye drops and a candy bar or something. And so I paid for it and it just stayed there on the counter. I was like, well, aren't you going to put it in a bag? And the guy's like, oh, well, a bag, I think it was 10 cents actually there. And I was like, well, yeah, I want one. Well, I have to charge you for it. Well, then charge me for it. But as we move forward, the reality is that cheaper and cheaper plastic bags are just not good for the environment. And particularly when you're working with younger people, they understand the environment is really important. And so that sustainability and that focus on it, don't give up on it. I hope that helps. Good morning, Diane. Glad you're here from Galesburg, Illinois. That's wonderful. Oh, Steven, you're right. Thank you. And it should be paper bags, not plastic. Right. Exactly. Thank you for that. Thanks for that kick. I needed that, Steven. Well, wasn't much of a kick, just a reminder. Shauna asks, how do you feel about charging back credit card fees to customer? I'm seeing more and more businesses do this. You do that to me, I'm never coming back. What a ridiculous thing. We're talking about 1 or 3%. Build it into your pricing structure. If you're so focused that I have to hold on to this and those evil credit card companies, good for you. One of the big changes that's going to be happening, and it keeps moving through the legislatures, is the credit card fees. And a lot of merchants like, oh, we want to get rid of credit card fees. But notice, was the credit card fees to you are what pays all those rewards for your customers and yourself. So that's your mileage, your bonuses, all of that stuff goes away. It's going to be a yin and yang. It's not going to be so clear cut. So, be careful what you wish for. Nikki says, what works best for local marketing? We've tried many things and there's always people that know nothing about us. So, Nikki, the number one way for local marketing is shoe leather. Get your butt out there and go knock on doors. And I know people will say, well, I can't do that. Of course you can do that. When I first started with one of my earliest clients, Mike Sheldrake. Mike, hello if you're there. He told me he'd been in business for 25 years and everybody knew him. Why do I have to advertise? Everybody knows me. And I knocked on doors and less than a third knew he was there, which shocked me. But then when I introduced them and they came into the brand, they felt like, oh, thanks for doing that effort. Shoe leather is the number one thing people forget. That means if you have a bunch of condos that are right next to you, you knock on those doors, or you say, can I have a homeowners association? Can I cater a homeowners association? Even if you're not a food retailer, you could then end up being able to show, if you're apparel retailer or gifts or something like that, those are the people most likely to come shop with you. So I think that's number one. Anything you can do that gets FaceTime. I don't give out gift certificates. I don't give out silent auctions. If I'm going to be there, I want to be at the silent auction and have FaceTime. That's what counts. You can have personalized direct email or mail where you actually can say, living in Shady Grove apartments or Shady Grove, whatever is great. We are right down the way. And you could write out 100 of those. Those would be excellent ways to do it. You could be doing joint events with other great, smart retailers, whether they're selling, their restaurants or apparel retailers or whatever, electronics. There's a lot of ways, but the local marketing that most people do is we give a coupon to people who are close by, and that's worthless. Everybody's got a coupon. There's always somebody cheaper online. So the only way you compete is to know your market and do it so well that nobody else can get in there. Joan says, you have a giveaway? What criteria should be given when picked up? Should you ask ahead if they're willing to be on social media, or if you can at least give their first name and not last to announce the win? I mean, I always think you can do whatever you want. I mean, I'm not going to make someone do it. I just say, if you really wanted to, when they go to pick it up, oh, can I get a picture of you to put on social media? And they yes or no. I wouldn't make it a big deal. David says, what type of training are retail businesses investing in their associates and how often? I don't know, David. Are you a competitor of mine? I can tell you that the smart retailers are coming into while they're coming into holiday, they've set their budgets and they're looking at 2024 and realize that we're about to have another great holiday season. And how are they going to keep it up next year now that they have the product and customers are pretty much sated after the holidays and they've done all of their panic buying during the pandemic and after the pandemic? They're going to have to work harder than ever to get the shopper to buy more in their stores, or the ones that know them to buy more. And that's why Sales RX, my online training, is being looked up by more and more companies. We have people who are suddenly realizing that we have great employees. Absolutely. But we never really said what success looks like when it comes to our sales process. So we're going to find another way to do it. Other ones we're filming custom content for them so that they can go through and it can be exactly what their brand is. But the smart ones always understand that you make the employee's day, they're going to make the customer's day. That if you want the rod and stick approach, you better have your conversions up. I went into a big box store and they had all the metrics, number of people that signed up for their rewards card and the service contracts and other things and net promoter scores. But have they actually taught people how to do that? No, but they're holding people accountable. That's the problem. You can't hold people accountable for something they don't know. In other words, you can't do a mystery shop of your store to see how they're doing unless you know what success looks like. What should it look like? What should happen when they walk in the door? What should a shopper hear all along the way? If you haven't told your employees, then a mystery shop is worthless because you don't know what success looks like. Hope that helps, David. Rachel says, how do you feel about performance pay versus commission? And David also says, probably different, David, should I pay my sales team commission or just by the hour? I think it depends on what you're selling and the average price. If you're selling complicated photography equipment or electronics, maybe robots, I don't know, then you probably are paying some kind of a bonus or commission. This idea that, we don't pay commission, everyone can tell you equally. I don't think that's quite it. I loved working in a commission system because I learned to master how to sell, and it kind of brought me to a pretty great place, kids. I'm just saying. And if I had just been on hourly, I don't think I would have lasted there. I would have moved on to real estate or done something else because, frankly, I want to reward the people who do the job. I don't believe in the kumbaya, but they're all trying. They can all try, but I can't go back to my bank. Hey, we're trying. They're not gonna they're not gonna do that, right? They're gonna say, "Well, that's fine, but your payment is due tomorrow, or we're going to put you in default." Or your vendor says, "You better pay your bill, or we're out." So when you're making excuses for your employees, just think, are your vendors going to allow you to make excuses? Is your family going to allow you to make excuses? Oh, we didn't hit goal. Sorry. I guess we're not going on vacation. Why the hell not? Why? Oh, well, Amy, we have to, Amy's having a tough time, and John, his car broke down and he can't get. When you're making those excuses to yourself, you are crippling yourself. You are choosing to say, it's not my fault. I'm not making money. And I'm saying, I would much rather you chose, it's my fault we're not making money. I better get my act together because the shoppers are out there right now. There you go. All right. We've talked about all of that. Peggy asked, do you give a discount for paying cash or reward for paying cash? Do you charge a fee? I think I've already said this. Just get out of that whole idea. Just be glad they're paying money and you're in business. A lot of people didn't weather the pandemic well. So I hope that helps. Bryce, what are the best ways to create charitable drives in your store to get customers in the community on board? I think you first start with, it's about choosing a cause that you believe in and not trying to attract people by doing good. There's an awful lot of people that do good and never do a press release around it. I've just put a link in here how retailers using community engagement to make a difference. I hope you'll read that. There's a lot of things about that. And it comes down to, the goal is to do something great for the community, and a byproduct is you're going to have more people aware of you and what you do. I think when you look at it the other way, it's just a little cynical for me. So I hope that helps. I haven't been, Stephen, I have not been through Primark yet, but they do a pretty good job. No two ways about it. Bob, you're asking about Black Friday deals. I mean, the reality is they're all out. There is no Black Friday. We are, 3 weeks out of Black Friday, and Walmart and Best Buy and all the big boys have already put that out. So, I think that you can certainly look at what they're doing. Doesn't have to be a lot of money, but most people that are not big boxes find that the day after Black Friday is stronger. That weekend is stronger for them than actual Black Friday. So there you go. So do me a favor. We are at the end of my questions. Tell me, what's one thing you got out of today? Put it in the comments. Just put in the comments. What's one thing you got out of spending 20 minutes with me, 27 minutes with me this morning? What's one thing? Just write it out there. And even if you're watching this on replay, you can put it in. What's one thing? Well, not just burnout, Bob. You got to tell me, what did you learn about it? Not just what I learned how to burn out better. Come on. What's one thing that you got out of, or one thing you're going to do in your store, or one thing that changed your mind, or one thing that you weren't aware of? Because here's the thing. Just like when I do training, if you don't connect the dots of what I heard to some action to make you type or write or say or do, whatever you just spent that time on is likely to go in one ear and out the other. And I don't want that. All right. So there you go, Bob, taking a day off to avoid burnout. That's good. That's good. Well, I think the most important thing is we come into the holidays. My next live video won't be until December. But just remember, preparation is the key for all of this. You really have about 2 weeks left to get your act together, to have all your supplies ordered, to have what you're going to do, to come up with what could go wrong on the registers and how you'll handle it, to make sure that your shipping is up to speed, you have enough boxes, etc., because everything is telling us that this is going to be a great holiday season. Don't use your loser's limp, woe is me, right now, because your job is to make somebody else's day. And when you do that, they'll make your day. But it doesn't happen the other way around. All right. So we have a few people, what they've learned today. So there's Bob taking a day off. That's great. Joanne has stopped discounting. All right. There's Michelle. It's important to reset the store and make a big deal out of it. That's exactly it. And while I'm at it, your crew will show you how well they are. If they're coming in and jumping in with you, that feels really exciting. Those who don't, that shows you that, wow, maybe we got some work to do. Michael, don't discount to strangers. Loyalty is to the regulars. That's exactly it. Alex, change up the store to give it new energy. Wonderful. Amy, the questions to staff when tasking instead of selling the next step is great. I love that. Wonderful. Cindy, changing the script in my head and avoiding the negative Nancy's around me. Exactly. Bitter Bill, negative Nancy, all that works. Stephen taking a day off and going outside and get off social media, best recharge. And Diane, truly look at each member of my staff and see their strengths and weaknesses. And remember, you are not responsible to make them successful. They've at least got to meet you halfway. I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me. Check out these links of resources you got. And then remember that the seasonal training you can buy for just $99 for up to 5 users. And that's the best for your part-timers and your part-timers to get you ready to have the best holiday season ever. I'm Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me today.